So we talked about sports games for a while, guys. Those were clearly important to making PlayStation cool. The other cool thing during this time would, we were talking about arcades. Arcades are still relevant. Maybe they're
Mhm.
starting to wane just a little bit, like maybe just a little bit at this point. Because by the time, like, what would you say, Wes? By the time like 2001 rolls around, arcades are
We're
dying
pretty much
like
done.
pretty good. Yeah.
They're done.
So they're probably still hanging on at this point, but maybe they're on a downward trajectory. But they're still relevant.
Not as many around as they used to be at this
Right.
point.
But one thing that was still important in that community was fighting games, which also helped PlayStation.
Gotta have a good fighter, man. Gotta have a good fighter.
I mean, every system does.
And it helps if they launch with a fighter.
Yeah, it certainly does.
Because the Sony PlayStation launched with Toshinden.
Now, I've never played Toshinden, but I heard like people look back at it now and they're like, oh, it's not very good. But at the time, it was like, oh, this is good. But then I think other games probably just surpassed it.
It was, I want to say it was Sony's answer to Virtua Fighter.
Okay.
But the characters used weapons. So it was Sony's 3D fighter. It was, you know what? It was the first time we saw it. The excitement was there. It was a brand new console no one's ever heard of. And they advertised it like it was the best thing ever. And it was, at the time, it was good.
I mean, I know on PlayStation, this was clearly before Soul Blade came out, but was Soul Blade available like in the arcades before then or no?
It was Soul Edge, and I want to say that came out after Toshinden.
Okay.
I may be wrong. I have to check on that, but I want to say Soul Edge came out after Battle Arena Toshinden.
Okay, because I mean, if you were to compare the two, it would just been like nobody probably would have cared about Toshinden at that time if that had happened.
Correct. But coming off of, again, Virtua Fighter, and it was a brand new console. We had a fighter, 3D, weapon-based. It was, man, I wish I could see the commercial, the Sony commercial in my head. And they advertised, I can't remember her name. I want to say Sophia, but I'm probably wrong. I think she used a whip. She had long blonde hair and she used a whip.
I don't know. I never played Toshinden.
It was good. It was, at the time, it was good.
I'm sure it was.
And then we got Toshinden 2, which was even better. They learned their lesson, improved on it, made it better, more fighters, better controls.
We also got a bunch of ports from Midway for Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 3 came out on there, a port for that. I think they put MK Gold on there as well, right?
No, Gold was Dreamcast. They did Trilogy.
That's right.
Yeah, and Trilogy took all the characters that were ever in a Mortal Kombat game and just put them in a game.
Did that turn out well? Because I don't know that I've ever played that version.
It was good. It was Mortal Kombat. It was 2D Mortal Kombat the way we love to play Mortal Kombat. It just had so many characters.
Nice.
I'm
sure I would have loved it then.
All the color swap characters, you had Sub-Zero and Scorpion, and you had Ermac and Noob and Rain and Reptile, all those color swap ninjas.
Yep.
It was good because it gave you so many characters.
Yeah, I'm sure I would have enjoyed it. That was probably like my fighter to go to. Like I did love Street Fighter quite a bit, Street Fighter 2, but I think I played a lot more Mortal Kombat during that period of time.
You say Street Fighter, it was the PlayStation had their versions of Street Fighter, but at the same time, the Saturn was out, and the Saturn played the 2D Street Fighter games a lot better.
Oh, I believe that. I wasn't playing. I mean, I got my PlayStation late, my PS1 late, but I wasn't playing Street Fighter on there. I was playing Street Fighter on back before then, like Genesis and Super Nintendo and stuff like that. Not that there weren't versions for the PlayStation. I just never played them.
Okay. Oh, what other fighting games do we have? Of course, we had the Tekken series.
I mean, that was probably the biggest.
That was huge.
Yeah. I mean, that's like one of the games where people talk about PS1. That's one of the games that pop into your head, like, oh yeah, Tekken. Maybe not Tekken 1, but like 2 and 3 were probably like 3 was probably like the biggest one, I'm sure.
Oh, Tekken 2. Tekken 2 was, man, so many people were excited when Tekken 2 was announced. I mean, I imported it. I had people asking me to import it for them because they just couldn't they couldn't wait to get their hands on Tekken 2.
Because 1 was like okay, it wasn't bad or anything, right? Like 1 was like, oh, that's a pretty good game. Like it was, but people weren't going crazy for it.
Now, when 2 came out, that's when people started to really like lose their mind. And we had like a bunch of arcadey type. We had Bloody Roar.
Oh yeah, that was a really popular series for a while. It's kind of funny that just like disappeared. When was the last time they made a Bloody Roar game? Was it like the GameCube, PS2 era? I feel like it was probably that.
Yes, I know Xbox had one. GameCube had a Bloody Roar. It started on PlayStation, so they had quite a few. Bloody Roar. People who've never played it, it was a 3D fighter, but your character can turn into an animal and take on different attributes.
Here's a little, since it's on subject, here's a little EB game story for you from like back in the day. There's a guy, I can't remember his name unfortunately, but I can see him in my head because he came in the store like every day. The mall I worked at, this would have been like when I was probably like 17, 18, something like that. He worked in the arcade that was in the mall because the mall still had an arcade at that time. And he would come in like every other day talking about Bloody Roar. Every other day he's in there talking about Bloody Roar. So I cannot stop thinking about him every time I hear or see Bloody Roar. And like I think that was like his favorite game of all time or something. But I just thought it was so weird. It's like a mediocre fighting game. Like it's supposed to be like a decent fighting game. Why is it your favorite game of all time? I can't even comprehend it. And it just like it always baffled me. But every other day, I had to talk to him about Bloody Roar.
Bloody Roar. I enjoyed it. And of course, we got different versions, Bloody Roar 2, Bloody Roar 3, and they just got better. But at some point, it just kind of became, okay, enough with the Bloody Roar.
Apparently, they haven't made one in years, from what I know of anyways.
They haven't. But I think I'm ready for a new one.
Yeah, bring it back. You can bring back anything now. Nobody cares anymore. Just bring it all back.
Now, here's a game. Now, do you classify Bushido Blade as a fighter?
I'm really not familiar with Bushido Blade either.
Bushido Blade was a samurai fighting game that had open arenas, and it was pseudo realistic because you can chop somebody's arm. You don't chop it off, but you can like maim them and they stop using it. And you can run around. There was a snow scene. It was different. It was different.
I'm sure I wouldn't have liked it.
I don't know if I classify it as a fighter. Me and my friends loved it, raved about it. He was like, "Oh my God, we've never seen anything like this before. This is great. This is great." But I'm like, is it a fighter? More of an adventure game or action game? I don't know.
I mean, I might have checked it out. I probably wouldn't have liked it because I have a weird thing about me where I have expectations in my head, and if I if someone was like, "Oh, let's play this fighting game," and then it played like that, I'm like, "This isn't a fighting game. I don't want to play this." Like even if it wasn't bad, I probably would have still been like, "You've ruined it for me. Don't tell me it's a fighting game if it's not a fighting game."